We are now on Chapter 5, and there are a few key points that I'd like for you to take away from this chapter. I think one of the most important issues is to develop your own opinions and feelings about consumer credit. Consumer credit can be an incredibly powerful tool. It can pull you out of a bind, it can put food on your table after an unexpected tragedy, it can pay for costly medical bills for your children, it can allow you to fix your car and continue to get to work. Consumer credit can enable you to purchase that car in the first place, purchase an interview suit to land that dream job. It can be used to buy that engagement ring, to plan that wedding, to get that car seat or dinner table for your family to eat at each night. But at some point, consumer credit crosses a fine line in American spending. It jumps from the necessity of medical expenses to the justified expense of a luxury item such as a vacation. We blur the line between a business expense of a cell phone to a cell phone with all the gadgets and a pricey monthly plan. Americans easily confuse the wants and needs of their lives when given a simple piece of plastic and that ability to pay later. For just about all of us, credit cards are a fact of life. Many will choose or be able to pay off their balance each month. Others will have months the balance needs to float for a bit. Still others are paying off debt accrued years before. It is so easy to read a news story about consumer debt and imagine a frivolous spender on a shopping spree. But what about that family who is confronted by a broken refrigerator, or the business with the client whose check bounced? What about the parent who rushes to Chapel Hill for pricey medical tests for their child and racks up hotel bills along the way? What about the student who didn't get enough shifts at work to cover the fuel for the gas tank? The harsh reality is that we can plan all we want. We can have an adequate emergency fund or be on a textbook perfect plan for financial freedom, but life doesn't always work according to plan, and we often find ourselves using consumer credit in ways we never wished. Consumer credit is a tool, and it is a tool that can be used strategically to allow our careers or businesses to grow or to be the thorn in our credit rating. How you use consumer credit is often not up to you. It's oftentimes used in a time of duress. But what you do have is the power to be smart about how credit cards impact your future. Consumer credit is by definition the use of credit for personal needs of individuals and families. In our region, there is a frequent use of consumer credit for small businesses as well. Often, small businesses are so new or so small that they are not able to secure credit on their own without their owners underwriting the expense. In these cases, even though technically the credit was used toward a business expense, the debt is categorized legally as consumer credit. Consumer credit is a huge force in the American economy. To illustrate this, I'd like for you to think back to the last 12 months. How many times were you offered a department store credit card in exchange for a discount on your purchase, or no interest for 12 months if you purchased that computer today? Often, around any holiday, there are special promotions available only to those who are willing to use consumer credit. Football season tends to bring on new TVs. Memorial Day entices people to buy new lawnmowers or barbecues. And we are soon upon the biggest shopping craze of all, the dreaded holidays. Without consumer credit, each of these cycles would be less defined. It is natural to look at these offers and decide if they save you money. Take, for example, my last purchase of school uniforms for my children. Their school requires the boys to have navy blue slacks. After shopping for the most affordable but high enough quality to pass on to the younger sibling, I narrowed down my choices to Gap, Gymboree, Walmart, and Land's End. While Land's End offered free shipping in the sale, so did Gap and Gymboree. Gymboree gave me money back with each purchase on my store credit card, and Gap had a 30% off promotion. So after adding up the 5 pairs of pants for my oldest, searching the internet for online coupons, and factoring in a store credit card, I was able to purchase the Gap pants for less than half the store price. This brought the cost per pant to less than what I would have obtained at the least expensive store, which was obviously Walmart. The catch here was that I could only benefit from this savings if I used my Gap store credit card. And there you go. I used consumer credit. In the end, it saved my family money. But what if I had other unexpected expenses at this time? What if my husband's clients didn't pay in a timely manner? that balance would have carried over to the next month, then the month after that, and in the end, come spring, it's entirely possible that those worn out, faded, and holey pants might never have been fully paid for. Americans are generally optimistic. We inherently believe things will be better. We will be making more in the future, next year, or maybe the year after that. We are also under the assumption that by using credit, we are increasing the amount of available funds to be used in the future. After all, if we weren't using our savings for this purchase, then it hasn't hurt us quite so bad, right? Unfortunately not. The ability to make payments won't magically become easier over time, and using credit does not increase the amount of money that will be available to spend in the future. Consumer credit costs money. It costs you money when you use it in the form of interest, and it costs the businesses who accept those cards. Small businesses in our country easily pay thousands of dollars for the ability to accept your consumer credit card. They pay both monthly fees and transactional fees. Trust me, it adds up quick, and the cost that they are charging you for the product or service is factoring in these high fees of the convenience. So where do we go from here? So let's imagine we have a very disorganized array of debt. How do we start digging out of it? Many people follow the advice of Dave Ramsey. While I don't agree with him or his strategy 100% of the time, much of what he has to say is of merit. He identifies on his website, daveramsey.com, the 7 baby steps. The first step is to start an emergency fund, which he recommends $1,000. Now, in my opinion, $1,000 won't be covering much of any real emergency at all, but the concept of an emergency fund is a good one. Step 2 is where I feel his plan does have a little bit more merit, and that is in his recommendation for paying off debt. Now, mind you, he has people paying off debt before they save the 3 to 6 months of expenses and savings, which I also disagree with. He has all sorts of arguments for this, and many people agree with him, but I'm not one of them. While I like each of his steps, my own personal opinions differ with the order in which he recommends them. That being said, I know many people who are financially independent and secure and credit his method, so it's certainly worth exploring. So back to step 2, paying off all that debt. You create a spreadsheet with all your debt, including your car loans, your credit cards, your hospital bills, or whatever else you might own. You create a column for the amount that you owe, your minimum payment, and then the interest rate. And now you pat yourself on the back because if you've gotten that far, it was a pretty big step. Next, you're going to look at your personal budget and try to find some extra money. Say $100 that you can start using as an accelerator to pay off your debt. Can you cut down on your cell phone bill, your cable, or eating out? Review your budget closely and see what you can come up with. Could you hold a yard sale? Could you take a few extra shifts at work? Try to determine just where you can generate a little extra money. You will then pick a credit card or debt to pay off first. You should pick the order of priority based on which debt will take the least amount of time to pay off if you just paid the minimum. You will determine this by dividing the amount due, or your balance, by the minimum payment to see how long this will take. So we're looking at John Doe's fictitious example. He has 4 debts. Credit card number 1, credit card number 2, auto loan is number 3, and home loan is number 4. The balances on the cards, $6,300, $3,500, $2,800 are listed. His minimum payment is listed, and the amount that he usually pays. If you look at his chart, he usually pays the minimum for his auto loan and home loan, but he's paying a little bit extra for his credit cards, $50 extra on each credit card. We need to figure out how long it's going to take for him to pay these debts off if he only pays the minimum, and that's where the little bottom one is down there. I don't have a cursor here, so it's the subtitle underneath each debt. So credit card number 1 will take him 30 months. If it's $6,000 divided by $200 a month, that's his minimum payment, it'll take him 30 months. These are all factoring that you're not adding interest and that the minimum payment is actually paying off the principal, which isn't always the case, but loosely working, it does work. So credit card number 2, it should take him 35 months. Credit auto loan number 3, it'll take him 9.33 months, and the home loan is going to take him forever. So the order that he should be paying these debts off is this. The one with the shortest loan is his auto loan. If he's only going to be making the minimum payment. He will pay that off in 9.33 months. That's the shortest duration out of all of his debt, so he should be paying that one off first. He should be paying credit card number 1 off second, credit card number 2 off third, and his home loan is last. The beauty of this method is that the targeted loan, in this case loan number 3, will get all of our focus. So everybody else is just going to get their minimum payments. We're not going to spend anything extra on the credit cards, just the minimum payment. Up until now, he was paying $1,550 per month in combined payments, but only $1,450 represented a minimum payment. So this means he has an extra $100 he can be applying toward loan number 3. Combine that with the $100 he found as his accelerator, those extra shifts at work or by abstaining from eating out, and he now has $200 extra each month he can apply toward loan number 3. So now, loan number 3 is only going to take 5.6 months to pay off instead of the 9.33 months calculated originally, because he's paying off $500 per month on this loan. So once he pays off this auto loan, what is he going to do with that extra $500? He's going to pay off the next loan. He's not going to go on vacation. He's going to tackle the next loan. The next loan was, I put loan number 3 here, but it should have been, it should say loan number 1. That's a mistake in my slide there. We had decided that loan number 1 would be his next payment. He paid off his car loan, which was loan number 3, so he's supposed to be paying off loan number 1. There we go. Sorry about that. So now he's paying off loan number 1. He's using that $500 per month. In addition to the $200 minimum payment, he now has $700 per month that he's using toward his loan. This is going to pay off his loan in 8.57 months, 8.5 months, instead of 30 months. Sounds pretty good, right? The one thing is, I kind of mentioned that last slide, the one thing you need to notice is that when you're calculating that you're paying $700 per month toward the loan, we're also counting that there's no extra interest accumulating on the loans. There are a couple ways you could handle that. Obviously, your credit card is charging you interest each month, so that $700 payment might actually only be paying $500 in principal, because maybe you're getting a couple $100 charge in interest, depending on what your interest rates are. You could either call the company and ask for a lower rate. A lot of times they do just lower rates for the heck of it. You could transfer it to another credit card. You will be paying transferring fees, and you have to really do the math to make sure that that makes sense. Or you just have to kind of factor in that maybe it's going to take a couple extra months, given the interest. The cycle repeats itself, though, the snowball cycle, and each loan is creating a bigger snowball effect for the loan after it. So rather than picking at little pieces of your debt burden, you're actually hacking away at bigger chunks, and this is pretty rewarding. Seeing those accomplishments can often keep you on track until you're out of debt. All of this factors in that there are no human emergencies, though. There's no refrigerators breaking, there's no dishwashers flooding, there's no hurricane hitting your house, there's no car accidents. Everything's moving nice and smooth. And that's what his idea with the emergency fund of $1,000 is supposed to help you not get off track, but I can't imagine $1,000 really covering most people in an emergency fund. If my slides aren't very clear here, I suggest that you take a peek at Dave Ramsey's site if this whole concept interests you. You don't need to subscribe to anything. You don't need to buy his books. You don't need to go spend thousands of dollars to attend his seminars. Just about everything you truly need to do it on your own can be found on his site for free. He has a total of 7 steps. They include other things such as saving, investing, funding your children's education, retirement, giving back, and a few other things. I'm certainly not touting him as the golden standard of personal finance. However, the way he explains the snowball concept for consumer debt is pretty clear, and it's hard to dispute. I hope that this lecture has given you some enrichment to the chapter and some concrete tools for personal use. As always, just send me an email if you need any clarification, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the module. There's a lot here that could really help you out. Have a great day.